Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we have Binyamin Tsadik here, and he's also from the Beta Quadra. And today I want to ask you, Ben, about your type and how your functions are, and also in comparison to mine. And let's start with, when did you get typed? How come you got typed? And yeah, we start from there.
Yeah, so, like you, I was investigating stuff at the beginning before I was typed, just trying to figure out what was going on with this new OP system and people typed and what their types mean and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then it's kind of like, I don't know, back then there were way less people in the community. But it was kind of weird doing the interviews and not being typed myself. So kind of did that. But I got really close to my type.
Wow.
Just a little bit off, yeah.
Oh, cool. So basically you thought you were ST?
No, I thought I was an ISTP, but I thought I was a jumper. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really close. I mean, you have the S and the N in the middle, so it's hard to tell which one is the strongest, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. When was it? What year was it? Has it been?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I guess 2018, maybe.
All right.
2019. I don't know, something like that.
Okay. And when you got your type back, what was your reaction like? Did you feel that this is spot on, or did you have anything you were questioning?
Yeah, no, the one thing that I was seeing in my life all the time was the sleep. Like, that's the one thing I was seeing. And I was surprised that I got the sleep at the last. Everything else was okay, not a big deal. But like the animal order was kind of confusing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same problem, kind of. I thought I was consume savior, and yeah, I was consume
right.
That's interesting. Well, do you think it makes sense now, or are you still kind of debating it in your mind, trying to, explain it to yourself somehow?
I think what makes sense is that my play and my sleep aren't communicating with each other. There's a very big disconnect. And that makes sense and the other thing is that my sleep, I'm not really ever using it I'm using it more for processing information and building myself a framework and a worldview. And I'm less using it for whatever maybe you would be using your sleep for. Maybe we can dive into that and compare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, because as I understand it, you are then info dominant, right? Because if you were type sleep last, then you are in the info dominant category, right?
Right, yeah.
But that's another thing that you're exploring more about at this point.
Right, yeah, and then there was this new theory that came out from Uzair, Catherine, and Ikram, and it kind of explains my experience a little bit more. A lot of people have been saying that it's been explaining their experience and they feel seen now that they've mentioned this. So it's starting to make more sense, the infodom thing. But like the biggest void in my personal life, I know what it is, and it's not, it doesn't seem like the way they described sleep to me. Yeah.
That's so interesting. You want to tell more about that, because I want to learn and understand.
Yeah. So, okay. So abstractly, it's like I'm not good at keeping in touch with people. Like I fall off the face of the planet. I have friends that I still consider friends, but maybe I didn't talk to them in 10 years, 15 years, and just they're the ones who reach out to me. It's not like, yeah. And I sort of get roped into things. I don't know how to set boundaries. I don't know how to say no. And I sort of, get forced into things against my will. Generally, it happens a lot, like not a little bit, a lot. Where like, like right now I'm at a job where, everyone there, since I've been there for 10 years, everyone there since I've started there said, you should be looking for something else. What are you doing here? You're wasting your life. Look for something else.
Yeah.
And just stuck. Yeah. And so for me, I was interpreting that kind of issue as a blast issue for the longest time.
Yeah, to not get moving like forward.
Yeah, to not get myself out of these situations that I get stuck in over and over and over again. Yeah.
So what do you think is keeping you there, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, it's kind of home maybe by now if you've been spending 10 years.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, so Blast is still a demon for you. And yeah, I'm just trying to grasp, like for me, I have it at the top and then I have the sleep. So we're almost like each other's demons and saviors, both with the letters and the
right.
Yeah. But we have the same modalities. So we're
That's
both,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, audios. So that means that all the animals have the same modality.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because your FE then is feminine, and you say that people are kind of dictating what you are going to do or like drag you into things, kind of.
Right.
And is that the feminine FE that comes to play there?
It could be. It's probably part of it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to understand because I have that too. Like it's really hard to ignore when someone wants something from me. But I was thinking you having DI as a savior, maybe it would be easier, I guess.
Yeah. I'm thinking when there is a logical reason, when I can puzzle something out, when I can give when I can give some kind of conclusive argument for something, then that's fine. I can get out. Mm-hmm. But when I don't have that, when I don't have anything to grab onto, I get stuck. Yeah.
Wow, that's very similar to how I feel too. Like
right.
I need to have that TI reason to get myself out of that.
Yeah. And even then there's never really a TI reason that's good enough. It's not, and it could always be taken down or argued against or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard to be on the FETI axis, isn't
it? I'm sure it's hard to be on every axis. Yeah.
Sure. So talking about the Beta Quadra, since we both are in the beta, do you feel that there is like a common language in this quadra when you talk to other betas, regardless of type? Do you identify somehow with the beta?
Yeah, I think beta makes sense for me, for sure. Yeah, it's very hard to miscommunicate with betas, I think. Yeah. It's very easy to miscommunicate. It's a lot less effort when you're trying to talk to someone from beta.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How do you see beta compared to the other quadras? I'm thinking you have a lot of experience from interviewing a lot of people.
Well, honestly, beta for me is kind of like, it's kind of boring because it's my functions and I know them, and it's nice to, go out and experience how and see the world through different perspectives. I guess that's kind of my demons, right? It's kind of what I want to do at the moment. But yeah, in terms of differences, there's lots of conflicts and clashing and things that you could sort of notice. That's kind of where you can notice the differences a little bit better. I think growing up, okay, so my dad was an INTP growing up. He's probably very similar to Bob Lazar. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they were type twins.
Wow.
And so, but like he would have one way to do things, and I would have another way. I would not want to do things that one way. Like he would have this one SI way. This is how you do this. And I would say, well, who says? Like, even he introduced me to MBTI and he's like, these are the 4 letters. So I was like, but why are those the 4 letters? You could have just picked any 4 letters. You could have picked any kind of axes. Why are those the 4? And I was like, he's like, no, these are the 4. But for me, it was hard just to accept, like, this is how you wrap a present. This is how you drive a car. This is how, like, I'll figure it out on my own. I can find my own way. Maybe there's, but you know, in the end, SI is right. There's like one best way to do things. If they've narrowed down and they chipped away over and over again, they get down to like, yep, this is the one and only best way to do it.
Yeah. But you need to find that out for yourself.
I want to break that. I want to find another best way.
Of course, the OE coming together, paired with the no machine, the masculine TI.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I think the other quarters are interesting, but somewhat draining sometimes because of the gap in communication. It can be super exciting. It can be very attractive, many things, but in the end, it's a lot of work, you know, to translate oneself to the other languages. Do you find that too?
Yeah, and like sometimes if you're not blasting back to the person as well, then you don't really know if you've understood them correctly, and they don't really know, you don't really know if they've understood you correctly.
Yeah.
And you can have the same conversation 3 times and like think like, I thought we already talked about this. I thought we already understood each other on this. Like, why are we having this conversation again?
Yeah.
But obviously not. Obviously there was a miscommunication. Yeah.
And they feel the same way too.
Yeah.
They also think we already talked this through, and then I'm doing the same again. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. So tell us more about your type and how knowing your type has kind of helped you in terms of self-growth, in terms of understanding other people. You're really exploring the whole typology thing, as I understand it. I'm not sure what, but tell us more about that. And
so I always knew I had Demon FE. I was calling it something else. I was looking at it in a different way, but I always knew like that was my thing. And just knowing what TI FE is and knowing what it isn't, knowing what TE FI is and all of that stuff, it sort of helps you figure out, okay, so what I was calling FE, there's like, it's only a little part of what FE really is. And it's, it just lets you know that, it's also a confirmation. It's like, it's saying, this is really what I should be working on. This is really where I am deficient. Like, I know it and nobody might believe me, or everyone might believe me. I don't know. But now I have like a little bit of ST to sort of go and work on it.
Yeah, so you got some useful tools to use, like in your personal life and in terms of understanding.
So the tools aren't really there right now in the typology community, I think. Like, no, the tools aren't really there. How do you work on your demons? I don't know. Like, there's no guide for it, right? And so really the only way is like, look at other TI users who have worked on their demons and gotten far with them. Like in my life, I remember seeing some FE users like at the top where I was just in awe of like what they were doing. And I was trying to copy them, trying to match them, trying to figure out what are they doing. And I didn't know they were doing FE. I just knew that they were doing something that I should be doing more of. And I didn't know, right? And so yeah, you can only get so far just copying them and so far just like trying to examine what they're doing. Whereas I think if once you start putting in the reps and figuring it out yourself and getting there yourself, you get more insight, I think. So if there was another TI user out there that sort of mastered their FE, then that would probably be the better place to go, I think. But that's not many.
You haven't found any like role models that you really look up to or admire, want to be like them or something along those lines?
No. And also with the DI, it's hard to find a role model. It's hard to find, I'm my own best role model. Like there's no.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you are you, but still you can get inspired by someone's actions or achievements, or I don't know how that.
This one person's just manner of being, just this EJ-ness where it's like that I'm not doing, that I need more of in my life, and sort of just like before I came to OP, just seeing that and sort of trying to crack that, trying to see like, what is he doing? Why is he able to ask me to do something and I can't say no to him? Like, why is he able to organize everybody? Why is he able to get things moving and stuff? Like, what's going on there? Yeah.
Yeah. And it seems to come so natural for that person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe then you can kind of find techniques that you like see that person using and break the code.
Yeah. And they were also really appreciative of me trying to figure them out because they were feeling seen by me. It's like, oh, wow, look at all the work you're doing here. Like I would look at what you're doing here. I was a bit appreciative of what they were doing by sort of trying to crack them. And so they were also very taken to me for that reason as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably they also learned maybe to connect with their DI if they were studying you.
Yeah, no, they were stuck in their screensavers. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was at least giving them permission to do DI, I guess, in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can really learn a lot from the DIs because, you know, even if I'm a double decider, I'm a DE, and to give myself that permission instead of waiting for someone else to give me the permission. I think that's the main takeaway for me when I'm observing the DIs.
Right.
And they are just so confident when doing it. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the hard part is the permission for you. I think, or not you specifically, but in general, I think the hard part is taking responsibility for your own decision, because like when you do that, you also have to take responsibility for the consequences. And that I think is the hard thing. The hardest leap to make is like, yeah, I'm going to do this. It's probably not going to work out. I'm probably going to get fallout and I have no one to blame but myself.
That's interesting. Very good and interesting point. So the responsibility is the issue, really, more than the permission. Yeah, I'll have to process that.
Because what's the permission doing? The permission is saying, okay, I'm taking responsibility for what you're going to do. Now you can, like, if you give yourself permission, what you're actually doing is you're saying, I'm taking responsibility for the fallout. I'm the one who decided this. I can't blame anyone else.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's where the block is.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, let me sleep process that.
Yeah, sure.
It's a good one. Okay. Yeah, let's talk more about the FE. You were mentioning the FE. And so I saw this interview that Gray had with you earlier, and you were talking about tracking other people's reactions, like to check your own reactions if they were, I don't know, appropriate. I don't know the right word for it.
Yeah.
Elaborate on
Yeah.
it.
Or even just like, I just don't know how I'm feeling or how I'm reacting to anything. Like, I don't know what the right way to process something is, or the right way to, like, that's the kind of language I'm sort of trying to deal with when doing the FE. It's like, what should I be feeling here? Am I feeling something appropriate? Am I not? Like, what would you feel in this situation? Right. And so it's not that I don't have my own feeling, but it's that I don't know how to recognize it unless I'm looking at how they're feeling. And if I look at how they're feeling and they're not feeling the same way, that helps me triangulate and see myself better. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like you're using a GPS and you need to ping off of all of the different towers to know where you are on the planet, because otherwise you have no idea where you are, right? Mm-hmm. And so you need a few data points to ping off of, and then you're like, okay, now I know that I'm in Toronto, or now I know that I'm in Hong Kong, right? Because I've pinged off of enough people to know where I am. So like, obviously the towers are at different emotions. They're at different places, like they're everywhere else. But just pinging off of them lets me sort of triangulate on where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. So how would that be different, do you think, for, say, an FI savior?
FI doesn't need that. They ping off of themselves, right? They check with themselves how they're feeling. They ping, yeah. Same thing with TI. TI it's not pinging off of others to figure out the best solution or think or solve things. It's pinging off of itself.
Yeah. So basically, you always know what you think.
Right.
what you believe and those kind of things, your own logic.
Right. You don't need a GPS tower to know where you are right now. Mm-hmm. That's the DI. You don't need that. You know you're in your house or wherever you are at, right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to understand like the opposite, because even if I have FE as a savior, it's still not, I mean, it's a feeling function, but it's not my personal feelings. So I'm just trying to understand like what he's doing is looking at the tribe, right?
So for FE saviors, you're more able to instantly recognize how someone is feeling. You don't even need to ask them. You don't even need to, right? And so when you're processing your own feelings, you can sort of just ping off of people by just looking at them, and then having a backlog of, okay, I remember this person acted that way in this situation. Is that how I'm feeling? Like, and I'm sure this is all happening really quick for you guys, but for TI, it happens slowly over time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's somehow different. Yeah. So what I do is that I do track the tribe. I see all the, you could say, quote unquote, all the FIs in the tribe, like what he values, what she values, how they feel, what's going on. Like I'm picking up on a lot of signals, you could say. But that doesn't mean that I pick up on my own signals, if you know what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that you pick up on your own signal is to know, am I the same as this person or different, right? That's how you kind of track it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a fascinating function. I had like, a process, to come to terms with having FE, because I was talking with Ian in my last interview, and FE has kind of a bad rep, I guess.
Right.
Like, baking cookies and making everyone smile, things like that.
Yeah.
And I can identify, but I do, recognize, I see what happens in terms of people's, what they are going through, their feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen you in the Discord. I've seen you do it quite a bit, where you just feel that call to action and you jump in, and then you help people process their emotions, or you validate their emotions, or you obviously it's not something you want to be doing right now, but it's something that like you feel the call to action. It's like, okay, all right, so yeah, I guess like everyone else just goes on mute, but you come off mute and you're like, okay, how can I help you to deal with this? Yeah.
That's the same thing. Like you have this obligation when you see the void, you have to feel it.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of painful.
A lot of energy. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you say? That I'm spending energy, or?
Yeah, it's a lot of energy from my perspective. Like it's using a lot of energy to just go into somebody's life and go into their feelings and go into like their perspective. And yeah.
It's true. Also for me, I mean, I'm also sleep savior. So I guess sometimes I have a hard time, to balance the tribe aspect with the need for sleep, for my own time, because tribe will always be above self for me, but I still have that need for my own time and my own process. So that's kind of an ongoing conflict, I feel, all the time in my life. Maybe that is an Energydoms thing as well. The push and pull between the expanding and saving the energy, I guess.
Yeah, you've got double deciding there.
Yeah, and the thing is with FE that if I see that void that you're mentioning now, and sure, I will have to expend my energy, and I'll do it, because it's even somehow more difficult to not do it, if you know what I'm saying. Like in terms of the feelings I have afterwards, or the thoughts I have afterwards. Could I have helped here? Could I have, been filling that void somehow? So
I just remember being really happy that you were there so that I didn't have to do it. It's like, okay, great. Yeah, someone's doing it.
good that we have different saviors. Yeah. I've been thinking about that. Like, why do I always jump in? Like, why can't I just, and I'm holding myself back. Like these days, I really do hold myself back a lot.
The thing is, someone else would jump in if you didn't.
Yeah.
Someone else would, but you're just the first one there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this interview isn't about me, but yeah, we are comparing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting in that context. So where do you feel that you are obligated, for example, to use TI in the same way? You know, if I fill a void in the tribe with my FE, where do you feel that you have to use, like you're obligated to use your TI even when it drains you?
So whenever something's not working at work, it's like, yeah, they automatically call me. Where like, because it's DI, I'm not obligated to make things work for other people. It's not like a TE. Oh yeah, call to action. Let's get things to work for everybody. No, it's like, okay, give them a chance to figure out on their own to get it to work for themselves. If they still can't get it, then I'll come in and get it to work for them. But first, give them that chance to figure it out on their own. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but whenever anything comes up in my life that I need to figure out, I don't outsource it. I figure it out myself. Like I'll work on it until it's solved. And if it can't get solved after a lot of trying on my own, then I might have to go pay someone or to the tribe or something. But it's not, it's very reluctantly, and it doesn't happen often. Yeah. Yeah.
It reminds me of what Dave said, that, yeah, he said something in terms of, you know, if he was trying to help his father with something, maybe you remember that. Yeah, his father is a lead TI, and yeah, he wouldn't always appreciate the help because it wasn't done in his way, you know?
Right. Yeah. If you want to help me out with my problems, then you do it on my terms, and you do what I say, how I say, because it's all already taken care of. It's already figured out. I just need it, like, yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Contributions in the right way, because otherwise it could be, I don't know, you could be pushing something and the other person's pushing it in the opposite way, and then it's not moving, right?
So as a tribe member then, and working with a TI, so what does the TI want me to do in terms of helping? Like, am I supposed to ask, how do we do this? Or how does a TI want the process? You know, are you going to blast? Because I find that TI often have very low blast. They don't really like to explain themselves, and they do everything on their own. So like in a family or something where you have to work together.
So first of all, yeah, TIs aren't really aware that not everyone has TI. TIs aren't really aware that not everyone can come to the same place that you came to, or like a lot of the processing is done silently. You don't see the stacking, you don't see any of that. And TIs just assume that everyone's doing that on as well. You don't have to share that, right? That's not, you just, and that's, I guess it's the same thing with FI as well. It's like, we'll share once we're done the conclusion that we came to, but how we got to that conclusion is just so complex. There's no way of untangling it and explaining it. It's just not even possible. Yeah. So it's easier for us to meet someone else where they're at and see how they're not coming to our, like where they are and how to get them to where we are. And so I think that's the communication thing there. It's like, okay, I'm not going to tell you how to get to where I am. I'm going to figure out where you are first and see how I can modify that to get you to where I am.
Oh, so you would try to help that person to find like their own path to that same goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a hard.
And if it's like,
yeah, go on.
yeah, and if it's already solved and already figured out and we know everything that has to be done, it's like, yeah, do this specifically this way, like to the T. Don't stray, don't do that. This is the way we've already figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of moving parts. And if you don't do it exactly in this way, then it'll cause more work, or right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have this stacking thing going on. So if you pull out one part here, the other part falls. So they are connected and dependent on each other, all the parts.
Yeah. And not everything is that sensitive. There's obviously simple tasks and stuff. But when we're talking about like an actual TI problem where you have to solve it, then yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be a challenge. I suspect that my mom is TI savior, and it's kind of hard to work together in projects because she has her plan in her head, but also I suspect she's demon blast, so she will never share, like ever. So I kind of have to study her and see what she's doing and try to understand her process, and then ask the right question at the right time, you know?
So frustrating to deal with.
It's a lot of fine tuning there. Yeah. Yeah, but I still get the function because I have it third, so it's in my stack. And I respect the process. And I can see that when a TE, for instance, my sister has TE, when she comes in with all of her thoughts and ideas, it's like, you know, throwing everything everywhere, and it gets very disorganized. I don't know how to explain it, but I think you get it. So yeah, it's very different, the processes. Yeah. So TI is a personal function, right? And again, I'm thinking of how I often see that TIs don't want to share necessarily all the time. Is this something you can relate to, that you are a bit reluctant?
So yeah, I think a good thing to take away is it's not that we don't want to share, it's that we don't know how to share the TI until it's done. When we're still processing something, it's got a lot of, we don't know where it's going to end up. We don't know if it's going to end up somewhere. And so like one of the questions that I've always been asked in my life by people is like, what are you thinking? And I'd say, I don't know, everything, nothing. Like, it's just thinking. It's a lot. It's not, if I were to explain it to you, I would stop thinking and then I couldn't solve what I'm thinking about. Right. So if there is ever a relevant point in the thinking process where, yeah, now I should probably share this, that's when it will be shared. But until then, you can't share it. It's not possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's the case with the introverted functions in general. As you mentioned FI also before, I feel that with my NI as well. Like, it's very hard to share whatever NI you have in your head going on. Because as you say also with the TI, there are too many moving parts, and you also don't know where you're going to end up.
Right. So, yeah, once it's narrowed down, then you can share your goal. Like before we started the interview, you said, okay, my goal for this interview is this. And it's like, okay, great. We've got the goal done. But like getting to there, that's the part that you don't share, that you can't share. Like, how did you get to that goal?
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's so true. And it would have been very annoying having someone asking all the time before I knew the answer.
Right.
Because you are still in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Like, you don't even know what you're doing until you're done. So basically what you're doing is you're tracking the process and not the outcome, you could say.
Yeah, because when the outcome is ready, then it's done. The bun's out of the oven. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so what are we going to talk about now? Maybe we could talk about one of the animals. Do you have a favorite animal?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of animals. I like whales, dolphins, sloths.
Okay, OP animals.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know what a favorite animal. Like they're all useful for their own thing, I guess. I don't know what a favorite animal would be.
Or maybe in terms of an animal that you are understanding more in depth, or yeah.
So yeah, sure. We just had a good consume talk about what ST consume is on the Facebook. I don't. It seems like my camera's acting up. I don't know if you're seeing the flickering.
Yeah, it's a bit greenish every once in a while, but not
yeah. Okay.
don't worry. It's
okay. So like the ST consume is like what you said. It's responsible to figuring out the process, and once the process is figured out, then you can create anything from it, right? Once you know the fundamental mechanics on how to do something, then you can, all of the possibilities are opened up, right? And that's where the NF comes into play. So I don't know if you have some kind of NF goal for, I don't know, to make somebody happy or to produce something or to solve some kind of world issue, right? Once you've solved all of the little ST mechanics, then you can finally go out and ground that and get it to actually work.
So true. Yeah. And that's probably where I get stuck all the time, because I have these NF visions, but my voice is ST, so I have a hard time, making them happen. Like the realization of it, it's really hard. It's like I have to go into my demons all the time to do that.
To get that done. Yeah.
So how does that play out for you? Because you have the ST first.
Right. So I got all of these capabilities on how to do things and how mechanics work, but how do I apply them? Where do I apply them? It's not how, it's like, what do I apply them to? What am I actually doing in my life?
Yeah. And I have the why and the what, but I don't have the how.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is this something you are like trying to work on, like, or something you're discovering, like how to get more into that NF place, the depth of really, really want to do what's fulfilling for you, like truly?
Yeah, so the NF is less about me, right? It's more about getting it to apply to everything and everyone, right?
Yeah.
So tapping into that is a struggle. It's a process. And yeah, because like there's what should people care about, and then what do they care about? And a lot of the time, what people actually care about is just really nonsensical, dumb stuff. Like, why would you actually even care about this? Sure, I could solve this, but shouldn't there be something even bigger, even greater that I should go solve? Like, what is this ridiculousness? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But like that's what you sort of have to lower yourself to, is just getting, solving those just simple, mediocre NF things that are all around you. It's the upkeep, right? Because like when our demons, when we actually do our demons, we want them to be like something big, something meaningful, something huge, not just all of the upkeep. Exactly. We want to solve it one time and then to have all of the reward for it. But that's not how it works. You got to constantly do it.
Yeah, building that muscle, because you can't do that big thing at once. You need to build towards that final goal, whatever that is.
Also, there is no really big thing. Like, there is no big thing. The big thing is just all of the little things that add up. And that's really what the big thing is.
Yeah. What they add up, like, in the long run.
Yeah.
Big thing.
Right.
And I'm also thinking, like, for instance, if you have like whatever talents you have, whatever knowledge you have, for example, in the ST, that you will want to kind of maximize whatever that is, whatever you have there, and kind of blast it, use it for good. So you want to do the most of it.
Right. So yeah, that would make a lot more sense for you as well. It's like it's more from your functions where it's like, okay, now I finally got something in the ST. I want to maximize this ST. For me, it's like I've got so much ST, like a whole bunch of it. I can do whatever I want, like, but I'm gonna do all of this meaningless things.
Yeah.
So
what is the most meaningful? That is where you should go with your.
That's what it feels like, but it's not. It's not the way to do it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's interesting, because I thought maybe, me being an observer, that I was more stuck, but I guess that somehow you always have your demons and your saviors, so there will always push and pull regardless. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I was thinking about this new information that I was watching on your channel about the info and Energydoms.
Right.
It's not really related maybe to the beta, and I'm talking about the Beta Quadra here, but I'm still a bit curious. If you want to break it down, like the people who are watching my channel, it's a very small channel and it's like my own tribe in the real life. So if you could break it down for a little for someone.
So it's not my observation, but it right away clicked with me when I heard it. It's like I mentioned before, it's Sarah, Catherine, and Nikram who sort of solved it on their own, and they brought it to me, and I was like, yes, this is definitely a thing. Let's talk about it. And so if you want to check it out, I have that on my channel. But just briefly, it's there seemed to be a big divide in the games we're actually trying to play in life. Mm-hmm. And it comes down to this info and energy thing, that we're just playing fundamentally different games. And the game of the Energydom seems to be congruency with how we behave and who we are. We want those two things to line up, right? And so you're Energydom, correct?
Yeah.
So like that's the game that you're usually playing, is just to be authentic between your actions and your identity, right? You want your identity you want to be a whole and complete person, right? That's the game that you're playing.
Yeah.
Whereas the game that the infodoms are playing is, I don't care about being a whole complete person. I will pretend to be someone and be someone else. It doesn't matter. I'll just go with the tribe and pretend to be this one person when that's not me, because no one can actually understand me. No one can actually get me, because I'm not trying to make them congruent. They're separate. I'm able to grow one separately from the other. And so by growing them separately, you're actually able to maximize the efficiency on your information. You're able to maximize making the information congruent with itself, because not all information is organized in a way that it can be useful, or in a way that it can be distributed or shared. And on the other side, it might not all just be accurate to what you've been taking in, right? And so making those two things match, making sure the information is matching itself, congruent with itself, is the game that we're playing. And we have to sacrifice on who we are because of that. Because sometimes you'll get information that says, hey, this is the right way to do things, and no one's going to accept it. So it's like, okay, so what am I going to do? Am I going to ignore the info and just go with whatever everyone's going to accept, or go with, right? Because the Energydoms are looking for being corrected by the tribe, saying, hey, you're not congruent here. You're not, like, they're looking for that ping back. They're looking to make sure those things match. For us, it's painful when the tribe comes and tells us, this is not, you're not congruent here, because it's like, okay, I know that, because look at all this info that no one's ever going to be able to accept. But here, let me give it to you and see if you can accept it, right?
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is that the infodome will wear kind of a mask.
Yeah.
For purpose.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
In order to align our identity with the info, we can't align our personality or persona with the info. Our persona can't align with that info. It has to align with a different info.
So the information comes first, you could say.
Yeah, yeah.
And with the Energydoms, the identity comes first.
The matching, the matching of the,
the matching.
And so like, this is really strange to think about because there's the sleep firsts with play last, right?
Yeah.
But even them, they are playing the info game where they're not, their identity isn't coming first, like you said, like what you called the identity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting information. I'm like still processing it. I've heard about it on your channel as well on Discord, people coming in, talking more about it. And yeah, I'm just trying to, wrap my head around it. It sounds very interesting. And yeah, this could be like a huge thing. Sounds like a thing that's really significant.
Yeah, that's what I was saying too. Yeah, I think like it's something that should be quite obvious in the world that there's these two kinds of people, but for some reason it's not, and you had to work through OP and the code to get to this, and then see the conflict and the differences between them, and like mull over it and analyze it, and then finally see, okay, this is actually what's happening. Like these are the mechanics. Yeah, so it's I think it took a lot to build up to it. So yeah, it is pretty big. And
yeah, because just from so I have been kind of trying to understand my own parts, my own type by triangulating with other people. And a great place to do that is Discord, because there are so many different types there. And just to see how are we the same, how are we different, and who are they, what are their types about. It's very useful, just to listen to the conversations in order to better understand the parts in the system. And something I have noticed is that the vibe is very different depending on if there are mostly Energydoms or mostly infodoms on the chat.
Right.
Like when it's infodoms, it's super intense. Like everyone is talking and it's giving information.
From your perspective, it's intense. Yeah. From my perspective, it's not. Yeah.
No, it's normal, I guess, for you.
Right.
Yeah. And for me, when it's mostly Energydoms, it's chill, it's calm, it's more vibey, it's different. And depending on my own mood, some days it's super interesting to hear all the information.
Right.
But my problem is to keep up because it's so fast. It's super fast.
That's right.
And it's back and forth.
The consume,
and consume last, so.
Yeah. It would be helpful if you had someone just like a tag team consumer to help you. But so what you're talking about is the Energydom game. How do the infodoms play that game? Because we have to play that game too, right? And that's where the persona comes in handy. We create this persona in order to play the Energydom game. And then the Energydoms, if the persona is good enough, won't see us. But if there's a little bit of that incongruency that they're catching, they'll start saying, it'll like their ears are perk up and be like, there's something off about this guy. He's not who he says he is, or he's not who he's pretending to be, right? Yeah. And then we've been caught and called out, right? And I'm sure you've seen that in people where it's like, this person's suspicious.
I'm not sure. I have to think about that.
Right.
I'm trying to understand what this persona mask thing really looks like in reality. For example, on Discord, which is a good example. It's a small place and it's easy to study this phenomenon. hiding themselves? No, I don't think so. I don't get that feeling that they are hiding themselves.
It's just trying to play your game, like trying to be a member of your game. Like we're obviously not going to master the Energydom game. We're not going to get anywhere big in the Energydom game, but we're going to try to hide in the game, like be in the game in some way. And it takes a while because at first we're not even aware that there is a game there. We're not even aware that we should be playing it. And you'll see a lot of people with just really horrible personas. And a lot of infodoms have bad personas and they're just throwing the vibe off completely. It takes them a long time to adapt that persona and make sure that the vibe is okay. So I'm sure you'll see some infodoms are okay in the Energydom convo. They're okay in that sort of thing.
Yeah, depending maybe on other functions as well. I mean, maybe the FN,
right,
for instance, yeah.
Yeah.
And also I feel that they are more kind of, they have a purpose when they come in. Like they are there for a reason, you could say. Like,
right.
It's something they are processing, trying to understand, wanting to share, and to get feedback. Or
so if we learn something from the experience, then it's a valuable experience for us. If we haven't gotten anything out of it, if we haven't learned anything, if we haven't leveled up in the information, then it kind of feels like a waste of time.
Yeah, I understand. So, but when do you actually know if you have leveled up on the information? How can you know that? Because it could be like a TI thing building over time. Like you get some parts, like I learn things every time, but they don't seem significant. But when I add them up over time, I have actually learned a lot more about a certain part or animal or type or something, But if I would just think about that specific time that I was spending an hour there, I would maybe think, no, I didn't learn anything today, but it's like the accumulation of it. So does an infodom miss that? Like, because they want to have that instant result?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's about the instant result. I think it's about what we're doing is more of aligning with each other on the information as well. So like how do I know I can trust somebody is that we have the same sort of outlook on life, the same sort of info. We're agreeing on things, right? And it's not like we're trying to get the agreement, but we're trying to just pass information back and forth to see where the mismatch is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing I also experience with the infodoms is that they seem to be processing or discovering things maybe about themselves also while talking.
Yeah, I wonder if that's not the DE over DI
Maybe,
that
yeah, these cases actually are DE people, so that
right.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for myself, I know that I will, when I am talking, it's not like I'm discovering something about myself, but I'm figuring out ways to word it properly. Like, it's like, oh yeah, that's a great way to explain that. Great. Like, that's what I'm discovering.
Oh yeah. So
like on the consumable blast side. Yeah. It's like, I'm discovering the blast while I'm talking.
Yeah.
Exchanging. Yeah.
Yeah, this is super interesting. And also Catherine and Ikram and Uzera, they've been on Discord talking about it more. And they're kind of asking also for the feedback from the Energydoms. Like, I don't know if we agree or disagree or our thoughts on it. I'm not sure exactly what they are asking for, but some sort of feedback, I guess.
Right.
Would there be any specific questions that, for example, myself, other people could think about who are Energydoms, like in order to be able to give that feedback? Do you have like something we could?
Well, I mean, I've discussed it with a few Energydoms already, and I've gotten a lot of feedback. And a lot of people have said like, okay, finally this typology stuff is starting to fit me. Because until this piece of the puzzle came in,
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't feel like their type was fitting them, and now it sort of is fitting them. And a lot of them is also Energydoms, like just seeing, oh, there is that info game, like just being aware that there's this different game that people are playing that we're not a part of.
Yeah.
So like talking to a lot of people, just like the consumable blast, for example, Energydoms. So the reason why they're trying to be congruent all the time is so that they don't have to blast at people who they are, and right,
Yeah.
they want to show people who they are without, so they don't have to explain it. And then the blast above consume, maybe that's more something that I've less investigated, where it's like, why are you playing that game? How is playing that game avoiding the consume or allowing your consume to be separate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still too new to this whole typing thing, like my own type included.
Right.
So I've processed everything, but yeah, that's a good question. I'll put it in my bag and think about it. All right, so back to the beta thing here. Is it anything that you want to add about the beta before we wrap this thing up? Like some patterns you have seen that makes the beta stand out or is different in the beta compared to other quarters? Do you have like any observations you want to share or have been thinking about?
I mean, I have an older video on the differences in the quadra. I think if you really want to take in what a quadra is doing, you look at their animals and how the animals are playing out. And I think also Catherine, who we mentioned, has a whole thing on their role in the tribe, the differences. But if you look at the animals, how they play out, where it's like, okay, you've got the play, you have basically their outward, what they're outwardly gathering, what the part of themselves that they don't know who they are, like that FE pinging off of the GPS towers to know where they are, right?
Yeah.
And so for the betas, it's our SF. We have no idea what our SF is like unless we have that ping back. It's like if someone says, oh, that's very SF for us, like in whatever words, oh, that looks really good. It's like, that's useful information for us, because we that's kind of what we're collecting from the tribe, where it's like, oh, the way you did your lips that day, or the way, I don't know, for women, but, or like that weird hat you're wearing doesn't work for you, or like, have you ever considered shaving, or things like that, right? Like that's what we're sort of, that's what we're not making. I don't know, we need the GPS to sort of figure out where we are on that. And at the same time, because of that, because we have that big void in ourselves on it, we're so aware of it everywhere, of the spectrum of it, and what's different and what's right. And whereas what the sleep, in contrast, what we're where we are on the NT spectrum is we're just trying to just get better, one better, one better, one better. And so on the NT spectrum, we don't need to look out to see where we are on that spectrum. That's who we are. We are these NT creatures that place ourselves on the spectrum where we decide, and build ourselves up how we decide. And so then when you look at the consume and the blast, what are we producing in the world? So our production is just this NF. How are we improving things? How are we making things better? In general, is this NF, this pointing humanity in some kind of direction that it should be going, I guess. And that's something that all betas are somewhat concerned in, is like, okay, where is humanity going? How are we going on the right way? Should we change the way that we're going, right? You'll see other quadras maybe get nostalgia or say, oh, things used to be like this, but they're not anymore, and they'll just complain. But when I see those conversations, for me, it's just like, okay, so like, where should we be going? Like, let's sort of, the complaining part and all that part, like, okay, there's might be a problem, you might be seeing the problem, but like, we're the ones with that kind of solution. We're the ones giving that direction. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the consume, how does that distinguish like the betas from the rest?
So this is going to be a bit controversial, but I think betas are just really in tune with reality in their consume, with just what's real, how things work in reality. We'll argue about that all day long as well, just about the consume, or we'll be critical of things because that's not how things work. That's not real. That's not right. That's kind of where our consume is.
Yeah, why would that be controversial? Just seems like a very logical thing.
Yeah, but just to say that we are most in tune with reality is kind of like, are we though? Because we're only have 4 functions, right? So like we're obviously missing half of reality, right? We're obviously missing at least half of reality.
Yeah.
But what we call reality, like what I'm calling reality now, is based on my own interpretation of it. So yeah, obviously I'm most in tune with my reality and what I call reality. Yeah. But yeah, I'll see it in a lot of other quadras where they're missing that. They're missing that in tuneness with what I'm calling reality now. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you compare the other consumes, I mean, the any is pretty abstract, right? So even the any consume is, yeah, sure, it knows a lot about things in like from the bird's eye view, but maybe not as much in touch with like the real stuff, the sensory world that is actually surrounding us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and obviously it's a delusion as well, the sensory world that's surrounding us, because all of our senses are interpreting the world, right, in some way. Like there's no such thing as objects, right? Our sight is just the light, and our sound is just the pressure waves, and like all of this is an illusion. But for us, the illusion is all we have, I guess.
Yeah, so we have to compare to that because we are physical beings, right?
Right.
That's the premise we have. So yeah, you as an engineer, I'm sure you can understand that even on a deeper level, like what is light, what is sound, like all of these perceptions, the things we perceive, like it's not actually what we think it is.
Right.
Yeah, that's fascinating, thinking of this, kind of dimensions and so forth. Anyway, let's not go to NI land. I was super inspired when I heard you talk now. Yeah. So basically the animals that we have in the beta are pretty different from the other quadras. That's what you were saying.
Yeah, and what Catherine was doing with her chart was good, because she was seeing how each quadra's animals are contributing to a different void, and they're all sort of needed in some way. Yeah.
So one last question then. When you said that, it made me think of your typing teams, because you have actually applied that knowledge to how you are typing people. You want to tell?
Right. So yeah, I guess your channel's not too big yet, but we're not advertising yet because we're already overwhelmed.
Advertise all you want.
Yeah. No, well, we're already getting overwhelmed with people asking to get typed, and we're actually not even that good yet. So don't come to us. Go to someone else who's better than us.
Anti-advertising here. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, the idea behind it is, okay, if we're all projecting onto reality, then every quadra should, and every human need should be projecting in a different way. And so if you get the 4 quadra together and the 4 human needs together, and they're all disagreeing, that means there's a projection there. And once they start agreeing, that means they're going to stop projecting, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, right now there's no real process worked out. It's just like let the teams sort of work it out on their own. But each team is sort of finding their own flow, their own way of doing things.
Yeah. So are they kind of discussing like what they got and compare it to what the other people in the group got, and just,
Right.
yeah.
Well, at the same time, we're all like, this isn't our day job. We're not, we're not making money off of this or anything like that, right? So it's hard to be too demanding of the teams and the people on the teams, right? They just want to learn to type and not invest too much beyond what they're already doing, which is really big. But we all want to get better and we all want to put in time. It's just we have our own personal lives and our own schedules and things like that. But so in terms of comparing with other teams, we do that a lot, where we'll type one person on two different teams and get different results. And sometimes we'll type one person on two different teams, get the same results, and it will be different from Dave and Chen.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's even worse somehow.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a process, and people come and people go, and but the general idea is I think pretty solid. And the other thing is, when you're typing someone, you're sitting by yourself and you're imagining, okay, this is what SI would say. But if you're on a team with somebody and you have two people on the team that have SI, you're like, how would SI? Like, you can just ask them. You don't have to guess, right? You don't have to say, oh, I think SI would say like this. No, you've got two SI people. How would you say this? How would it be different? You've got an organizer. How would the organizer want to do something? Mm-hmm. And so having those access to those perspectives and those tools in the moment while you're typing is very useful, because you don't have to guess. You don't have to be in your delusion or project.
Yeah, you get the information straight from the horse's mouth.
Right.
Yeah, you're very creative, Ben, I must say. Like all the things you have your channel where you're interviewing, you have your typing teams, and this is interesting where it's gonna go. As we said before, TI doesn't know. It's still in the process, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the NI that still kind of has that trajectory, that understanding of where things are going, but it's not, for me, it's not a savior. It's what happens afterwards.
Yeah. So would you want to share that NI third? Like, is there a trajectory to all of this? Because you are actually working hard. I mean, you have your full-time job and then you're working with this as well. Like, is there
so on the typing team specifically, I think there's just a bottleneck right now from like, this typology stuff is small. We're a small community. There's not a lot of people interested at the moment.
No.
But if it ever does blow up and get a lot of interest, there's going to be a huge bottleneck. Like, there's no reason to advertise right now. Our type, like I said, don't come to us because there's just a big bottleneck. And solving that and actually making typology useful for the greater population is kind of what MBTI was trying to do.
Yes.
And it's also kind of what Dave and Chen are trying to do with their operators. And so it's also kind of what we're trying to do. Is just, the other thing is, like, we're in a class, we're trying to learn how to type, and do any of us know how to type really? Not many. So, I mean, right. And so like, it's not on Dave and Chen or anything. It's just, it's on us, obviously. But at the same time, like, something's got to give. Something has to change. Like, we can't just be in a class for 4 years and still not know how to type.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a bunch of things in there. And then at the same time, it's like, I'm giving the teams autonomy as well. They have their own email. They have their own, work out their own hours. They accept their own clients, right? Mm-hmm. I'm feeding them clients when they don't have anyone. But if they wanted to, like, theoretically branch off and just find their own clients, that's perfectly fine. I have no qualms with that. Like, that's exactly what the purpose of it is. It's like, okay, now we've got a whole bunch of different places people can go and get typed, right?
Yeah, this is super interesting where all of this is going, you know? For me with the NI, like.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I love thinking about that too. It's interesting. Yeah, okay. So having that said, is there anything else that you would like to mention, that you have like some thought about the beta or anything like?
Just, yeah, keep working on this. This is great. Thank you for having me on your channel. This is awesome to do this. And like the more people that are interviewing and the more people that are learning type from the source, which is the actual people using those functions,
yes,
the better. It's really easy to just get stuck in the echo chamber and just, you know, repeat what you've heard. But doing that actual consume that you're doing right now, I mean, it's your demon and you're out here starting to work on it. So good for you. Yeah, keep that up. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll do my best. I have a couple of role models good at interviewing people. So